All right, Captain. Let's continue where we left off. What about the natural incursions?
You call them incursions?
What do you call them?
Well, I like to call them abnormal, because they're just normal creatures with added something extra to them. Abnormal. Officially, we like to call them pteroson. Pteros, Greek for marvelous, monstrous, deformity, and miraculous. That quite sums up the creatures we deal with on a daily basis. And on for Greek meaning being, miraculous being. But that name isn't really set in stone. It is set in stone in documents, but I've heard other branches of the coalition using their country's respected name. Like in Germany, I've heard Wesen being thrown around. In Asia, Yukuhai, I heard. In Arabic, Mankaluk, I heard. And our Native American agents have been using Manihitu.
I get your point. If there are these creatures, then why don't we see them running around? They don't have to worry about diseases or bacteria, seeing that they are naturally occurring on our planet.
Well, one, they are extremely rare and elusive creatures. And two, agencies like us, or similar to us, and the government, likes to keep these type of things secret. One, to control hysteria, and for the government, therefore controlling hysteria, controlling the population. And last but not least, number 3, conditioning. Before the Dark Ages, these creatures lived with our ancestors in harmony. But with the rise of religions and with the power grab began the Dark Ages. These religions view that which they did not control they were against. And monsters were one of those things they could not control. So they sent out hunting parties to eliminate these creatures. And the sentient creatures, the creatures that think, they used the same tactic the Nazis used. Them against us. They extremely alienated these sentient races, saying that we were built in God's plan, and God didn't give us fangs or fur or scales or horns. Therefore, they weren't designed in God's plan. Therefore, they are against God's plan, and therefore an abomination that needs to be hunted down. It caused them to be hunted to near an extinction. Usually these hunting groups were under a religious flag. Symbols, items, or any other tool related to that specific religion doesn't have a real power over these creatures. Like how a cross has an effect on a vampire. They're just conditioned to fear them. Like for an example, dog, you ring a bell, the dog comes, he sees food. Every time the dog hears the bell, he'll salivate his mouth because he knows there's food for him waiting. But after months of conditioning, the dog only has to hear the bell to start salivating. And that's how these creatures are conditioned. These hunters will hunt these creatures with these religious items and kill them. After a while, these creatures associated these items with death and just started fearing them. That's why 2 wooden sticks tied together makes a vampire ill.
That explains the spirits.
Yes and no. Spirits work on a different life wave, as you call it. But say the right words with the right pitch, frequency, duration, and with the right items to increase those words' wave, they might be strong enough to bounce to different wavelengths or life waves, and might be able to enter the spirit's wavelength. And when those words are spoken aloud, and when those words are spoken in the right way, it bounces from our life wavelength to their life wavelength. And it's like a brick wall smacking them in the face. But spirits are like snowflakes. You never find two that are exactly the same. Each one is different, has different means and techniques to be handled. But do not disregard the tactics and methods of the olden days, of how people would rub chicken bones together to ward off spirits. Those people had many years of practice with these creatures. Those rubbing of chicken legs and spilling of ox blood around the home. That's how they increase their words frequency to combat these creatures. Those methods might seem foreign and completely like nonsense, but those methods were those people's procedures on handling these type of creatures.
All right, we mostly covered the basics. Now then, how do the coalition operate?
Firstly, to ensure the alien federation that we are neutral, so we can continue our operations, we report to no government. We instead have a council of members that control their each respected part of the coalition, and all votes must be unanimous. We operate like a paramilitary type of organization, but in actuality we're more like a supernatural police force, animal control unit, medical team, and an admin logistical team. The government of the world does recognize our authority, but doesn't always respect our authority. Sometimes we butt heads, sometimes we collab. To keep the veil of secrecy, we as well cover up the activities through 1. Misinformation by adding false reports to increase confusion, information redaction, and an alcoholic drug that makes people forget or is extremely open to suggestion, making the phrase "it's just a dream" very popular among our agents. My favorite was the film industry. Usually when certain information becomes too large to contain, we make a new movie and say that these sightings of these specific creatures were just promotional material for this new film or attraction. A good example was in December of 2019, the solar cycle 25 started happening, which increased rifts through time, causing dinosaurs to come through. To cover this up, we added an extra film to the Jurassic World franchise. Originally, it was after Fallen Kingdom and the dinosaurs went into the open world, they instantly got sick and Owen needed to go to the island to extract some type of cure. We added Dominion in there and say that all these dinosaurs managed to cross the different continents and to the different places, and increase in population in 4 years, all in hopes to cover up the rifts opening of where these different dinosaurs came through. Nobody even noticed that Iguana colossus, Pachyrhinosaurus, and Lithrosaurus weren't from the manor, nor was created in Biosyn Sanctuary. They just appear. And nobody really questioned of where these creatures came from and how they grew to such an increased population to different continents in 4 years. But those dinosaur sightings became so out of hand that we needed to increase the cover-up with the Dino Tracker. Some of those videos are actual coalition agents capturing and finding these different creatures. Like that one dinosaur from the pool, or that compy in the cage, that actually happened from, and there was actual film from our coalition agents. We just added that to Dino Tracker so that our film teams can save some time. Nobody noticed. Another good example was in the 2015 we had a containment breach. Multiple creatures ran through New York, and a few months after that there was the release of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Another good example was the Dragon over Orlando. After that, the coalition donated a huge sum of cash to Universal and was instructed to build the Bergland experience and to construct dragon drones to cover up the sighting of this dragon flying over Orlando. People didn't even question that dragon was a Chinese subspecies. But they never questioned of why was there a Chinese dragon when the Bergland was Nordic dragons.
But aren't all dragons the same?
No. Dragons in general and other creatures like werewolves, vampires, mermaids, pteranodons in general. It isn't the name of a species. It's more like a classification, a family, or dominion for these different species. For an example, we have dragons in China, dragons in America, dragons in European areas. We all identify them as dragons, yet they're completely different species. How I can explain this is birds. Can you describe a bird for me?
I do not understand the point.
Birds are described as creatures with feathers, beaks, and can lay eggs, correct? Correct. While there are birds that can fly, then there are birds that can swim, and then there's birds that can only run fast. Flying, swimming, running. These three different descriptions are completely different from each other, and yet we associate them with birds. You can find each one of these different descriptions with a specific bird. So, like vampires, yes, there are some that can detach their body from their torso and be like a flying torso head creature. There are only vampires that can come out only at night and get burned by the sunlight in European areas. And then there's vampires in America that can shapeshift. What's the key classification for vampire? Human form, drinking blood, and usually some type of extra supernatural ability. These three is what we mostly associate vampires with. And yet, vampires have extra abilities to different species, each species having their own unique speciality that makes them different from each other. Which lead to my point. The common name for these monsters, creatures, whatever, it's not the name of a species, it's more like the name of a family, genus, or dominion. So no, these two dragons, even though they come from the same genus, they're completely different species. Just like how an owl is different from a penguin, even though they're both birds. Small little details that people really never notice. And that's how the coalition managed to keep everything under wraps.
Methods that with today's easy capture and release, proof and disproof of information, making secrecy more and more impossible. The world is changing. People are different. They have access to tech, info, formulas they're not ready for.
So the only option is just to reveal everything. But like I said, that will cause mass hysteria, and any agency, government or otherwise, coming out of the blue with this information will make the people think they have been lied to and cause or increase distrust, which will lead to more anarchy.
They need an agency who the people have seen being founded and well documented. They need an agency who the people have seen being founded and well documented when being built, like multiple videos of the agency's growth posted online, being done by an everyday person who has no ties to the government or any powerful agencies. Someone they won't expect of being malice. And who would expect a lonely farm boy with only a high school diploma, an extremely active imagination, and a reputation of already being a goody two-shoe of being malice?
Rude but true.
One more thing, Captain. Why don't we just wipe all these creatures out? They obviously pose a threat. Why not just eliminate the threat?
These creatures are sentient, deserving the same respect as any animal, even humans, has. These creatures are the key to our evolution, past and future. And yet, we vile them, we reject them, and worst of all, pretend they don't even exist. Yes, there are some dangerous ones, but we learn just as much from the dangerous ones as the benign ones. I live on the principle that all life has the right to live, no matter who or what they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be living in the first place. But let me appeal to your corporate side. Vampires could be the cure to HIV, werewolves could be the cure to deformities, mermaids could be used for deep sea search and rescue. And imagine what we can learn from these creatures. They could be the missing link in our own history. And imagine what they can teach us. History and science, long forgotten, alchemy, potions, mixtures, techniques, technology. It could be beneficial to us. But if revealed to the world, it will cause panic and will eliminate these creatures before we even have the chance to learn from them. Like, for an example, a castle of vampires was discovered and destroyed by the church. Their castle destroyed. Centuries of knowledge gone. A dynasty of a unique species eliminated. And we are here because we are these creatures' last resort. These creatures are out there, and they need our help. Does that answer your question, Agent MC?
I believe so.
So, Agent MC, did I score enough points to boost my favor with the council?
We'll have to see.